leaves the planet with just the heavier molecules, a toxic smog that cannot, as far as we know, sustain any life. Earth would have a similar fate if it wasn't for its relatively strong magnetic field. Particles from a CME aimed at Earth are redirected around the planet because of the Earth's magnetosphere. Some particles get redirected to the Earth's poles where the charged particles hit the Earth's ionosphere, causing beautiful aurora thanks to a combination of the Earth's magnetosphere and atmosphere. We are totally protected from all sorts of particles space likes to throw around. Or are we? When the Earth is hit by a CME, this is called a geomagnetic or a solar storm. When a solar storm hits us, Earth's magnetic field gets somewhat compressed by the force of the CME for the duration of the storm. Normally, this wouldn't and hasn't been a problem for people with their feet firmly on land. But what would happen if the most powerful solar storm ever recorded was the hit Earth music today? To find out what is believed to be the most powerful CME in recorded history, we have to go back to 1859 to a solar storm known as the Carrington event, music from the 28th of August to the 2nd of September 1815. Many sunspots appeared on the sun. In one place, on the 29th of August, southern aurora were visible as far south as Queensland, Australia, which implies a solar storm was occurring before midday on the 1st of September. Amateur astronomers Richard Carrington, who the event was named after, and Richard Houghton separately saw and recorded an extremely bright solar flare. Carrington and Houghton wrote reports independently, which were both later published in scientific journals. The flare was connected to a major coronal mass ejection that traveled directly towards Horse's Earth, taking 17.6 hours to make the 150 million kilometer journey much faster than the speed of normal. Music CMEs, typically a CME would take several days to reach Earth. It's thought that the high speed of this one was made possible by a prior CME, perhaps the cause of the large aurora event on the 29th of August in Australia, which would have cleared any ambient solar wind plasma for the Carrington event like a giant Lipst stream. With this Lipst stream in place, the way was set for the biggest CM known to man. On the 1st to the 2nd of September 1859, the largest recorded geomagnetic storm occurred. Aurora was seen around the world all across the northern hemisphere as far south as the Caribbean. The aurora over the Rocky Mountains in the U.S. was so bright that the green glow woke local gold miners who began making breakfast, as they believed it was morning. It was reported that because the aurora was so bright, people in the northeastern United States could still read a newspaper. The aurora was visible as far from the poles as sub-Sahara Africa, Mexico, Queensland, Cuba, Hawaii, and even at lower latitudes, very close to the equator, such as in Colombia. This is unprecedented, as typically aurora aren't visible at the middle, music latitudes. By the 3rd of September, the aurora in the sky was said to be the brightest and most brilliant it had ever been. However, although beautiful, this storm brought unforeseen problems. A consequence of the geomagnetic storm was that the electrically charged particles from the Sunbridge telegraph systems all over Europe and North America, which caused them to fail, even in some cases, giving the people that operated the telegraph equipment electric shocks. Telegraph pylons threw sparks from the charged atmosphere, and amazingly, some telegraph operators could still continue to send and receive messages, even though they had disconnected their power supplies. The storm was comparable to a hemisphere-wide EMP bomb, fairly harmless to humans, but extremely bad for electronics. The force of the CME in 1859 was so strong that it compressed the magnetic field of Earth all the way down to it. Music atmosphere. Due to the fact that North America and Europe were facing the sun at the time, these areas of the world were most affected from the initial cannonball of the music CME. Looking back at geomagnetic storms since the 1850s, there have been a few which were big but not devastating. For example, in March 1989, A CME hit Earth, rendering in satellites unusable for several hours, and jamming radio stations in Europe. Power in Quebec was knocked out for about a day. Some people there incorrectly thought the Soviets were attacking, and the glow in the sky was the result of nuclear music bombs. Thankfully, though, this solar storm and many like it did no lasting permanent damage. Music today, if a CME the size of the Carrington event or bigger was the hit Earth, the consequences would be far more disastrous than they were for mankind. In the 1800s, technology was only just picking up back then. Whereas today we have satellites in space, computers, telecommunications, power plants that would all be severely damaged in such an event. Music, due to the range of a solar storm, it would greatly impact equipment over a large area. The most susceptible technologies being the electricity grid and telecommunications, which have cables stretched out over a large distance without proper safeguards in place. Transformers on the power grid could break, and millions upon millions would be without power for a lengthy period of time. If transformers did get damage, for example, it would take years to replace, as transformers take years to manufacture. Often these transformers are tailor-made for the specific requirement and are not mass-produced. Without power, refrigerators would not be able to stop food from spoiling. And as the transport system would also be down, as fuel stations require electricity to pump. Replacing that food would be problematic. Payment systems that rely on credit cards would not work. People would not have access to the internet, as computers would not have power. And battery-powered devices would run out quickly. Radio.